welcome to Hypergraph Hour 45. There is an annoying dog barking in the background that might have to go take care of after this call. But anyways, I'm Ben Jorgensen. I'm the CEO of Constellation. So today's Hypergraph Hour is with Michael Brand, former CEO of Dor Technologies, which Constellation acquired last year and brought on an amazing team. And with the vision around Constellation kind of bringing infrastructure tools and composability for Web 2 to Web 3. And really Dor is kind of our MVP in this space. And so Michael and his team bringing so much hardware knowledge to Constellation has created their own division in Constellation around bridging hardware and data collection with Web3 incentives. So today, Michael's going to give a little update on where we are with the rollout with the Dor Traffic Miner, announce some updates to the technology and reward system and what people can expect. So Michael, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you for that intro, Ben. So I'm excited to chat today about the Dor Traffic Miner. Got a little agenda for us. I'll start just talking in general about the DTM and what it is for any new folks who haven't seen it before. I'm going to cover the development and manufacturing status, what to expect when you receive your sensors, the redemption and setup process, bounties and rewards, talk a little bit about the future and what we have planned on the roadmap, and then we can close it off with a Q&A. So please submit your questions to Zoom. Andrea is going to be looking at those and batching them up for me to answer at the end of the conversation. So first off, what is the DTM? Well, the DTM is actually pretty simple or straightforward. It's a device that counts when someone walks through a doorway. So the core technology is a bit more complex. It's a battery-powered peel and stick device. Here is actually an example of our previous units, previous versions. The DTM will have the same plastic, same form factor. The DTM detects human body temperature, so it's thermal based, and you can actually see a little anime GIF I have here of the raw data. And we have 3 sensors that all work together to gather accurate data. So we have our passive infrared sensor, we have a time of flight sensor, and the 64 thermal is the main one. We also have a bunch of quality of life devices on it. We've got a button, we've got multicolor LEDs, an accelerometer that can determine if it fell or if it's mounted correctly. We also have a piezoelectric transducer, so the box can make sound. And the device is completely anonymous and even HIPAA compliant. So we've had these things deployed in hospitals, retail shops, really anywhere you want to put it. And as Ben mentioned, this IP was obtained through the acquisition of Dor. So what is the DTM concept? So the premise here is that knowing the movement of humans is valuable. And I put a little asterisk there on humans because I just want to reiterate that this is the movement of humans, not of individuals. So we will never track an individual person or connect a name with a piece of data, which is called personally identifiable information. There's so much value in just knowing the trends and knowing how people move around the earth and around businesses that this is the problem we want to tackle. How it works is that a datapreneur can purchase the DTM and use it to collect foot traffic. The data set is then sold to various buyers and the revenue is shared with the datapreneur. So this is kind of a new thing, and what we call it is a data node on the Hypergraph network. So generating valuable data in exchange for tokens. So how can we succeed? Right now, the network will be bootstrapped through incentives from the Constellation Validator Reward Pool, and this will allow us for a massive collection of data. Anyone can sell their own data, so the DTM is yours, your own data is yours, but Constellation and Dor are going to act as data brokers to make sure this works. We actually already have a few customers lined up, enterprise customers who will be purchasing all of the data that we're able to supply. And of course, all foot traffic is not valued equally, so we have a bounty system set up that'll incentivize the most valuable data. It'll also allow us to go to enterprise clients and ask them what data they would like us to collect on their behalf. So that's the concept. Now, I know a bunch of people have already pre-ordered these. They've got the NFTs. I'm going to dig into where we currently are with manufacturing and what to expect. So the MVP of our firmware is complete. Right now, we're just fixing bugs and edge cases. We've sourced about 95% of the components for the full DTM build. I do want to highlight this as a potential risk. We need to source 100% of components in order to avoid delays. That's the only thing that's up in the air right now, but we're getting really close there. So the development of a mobile companion app is currently in progress. We've already built 10 units of the proto build, which is just the PCBs and circuit boards about 2 months ago. We've confirmed that it works and locked that design. We're going to be building 8 units of what's called the box build on November 3rd. So that'll be fully in the plastics and packaging and everything, just to confirm everything works the way we think it does. And then our first production run will be 350 units currently planned for the end of November. So I just want to say, we made an executive decision to get these units out to people as quickly as possible. Normally after that production run, we'd spend about 2 months of testing and validation, but knowing that our DTM owners, can't wait to get their hands on the device and are also a bit more technical, we're going to ship these fairly quickly after they're produced. So I'd like everyone just to consider these beta units. Really work with us. If there's any bugs or kinks to work out, we're going to have a whole bunch of customer support systems in place with multiple people supporting it. So we're going to have really quick and clear communication and really want to work with these first DTM customers to really smooth out anything in the process. Here's a picture of those first prototypes. So we got the little Constellation logo on there. We got Dor in there. Whole bunch of radio devices and sensors. Pretty cool little piece of hardware here. Shipping timelines. So we'll be shipping first all of batch 1 units. So these will be NFT number 1 through 313. We're expecting to start shipping at the end of November. So our goal is to ship all of batch 1 by the end of the year. As I mentioned, if there's any delays in the manufacturing process, some of the later numbers might be pushed into January. We'll be sure to communicate if there's any delays to all of the DTM customers. Also wanted to put a little asterisk here, shipping to certain countries may be delayed due to logistics or customs. We're shipping everything from the US. Certain countries, it's a breeze to get through customs. Some of them hold it for a long time. So we'll be sure for anyone who's in those countries, we'll keep them in the loop on the process there. We'll also be covering all shipping costs, taxes, and tariffs. So the end customer doesn't need to worry about any of that for batch 1. Cool. Now let's cover what to expect. So as I mentioned before, please report everything. We're going to have a special email set up that you can email. We're going to have multiple team members on the back end, monitoring all the tickets, replying as quickly as we can, making sure everything is working properly. A few extra technical details. The DTM will require a Wi-Fi connection to connect to our servers and send data. That can be 2.5 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz with no captive portal. All devices will also have a LoRaWAN module with helium support. So this helium module will actually allow the sensor to contact the servers as soon as it's powered on. So we'll be able to see that your device is powered on and running. But in order to send data, you still need to connect that Wi-Fi network. Now, with the LoRaWAN modules, it's different modules for different countries. We had to try to predict which modules we needed. So we can't necessarily guarantee that your device is going to have the correct LoRaWAN module. That's okay. As long as you have Wi-Fi connection, you can do all the same things and all the same bounties as everyone else. All right, I also wanted to talk about powering your device. So another consideration we made since we're shipping internationally is we're not going to supply batteries with the sensor. You'll have to supply your own batteries. The reason for that is it's kind of a logistics nightmare to import batteries. It's different for every single country. So we decided we'll let folks supply it or even power it through wire if you would like. I'll cover those options right here. It has a mini USB port on the side, so you can plug it in. We will supply you with a custom 20-foot USB cable, and we'll have mounting clips and things like that. And so when you get in the box, you can plug it in immediately, at least power it on, connected to the servers. It'll accept 2 alkaline D cell batteries. There's standard D cells for 3 to 6 month battery life. It also accepts my favorite kind of battery, which is 2 lithium thionyl chloride batteries. So these batteries will give you 1 to 2 years of battery life. They're the ones that are really hard, almost impossible to ship out of the country. But these can be sourced in individual countries where you are. We recommend Titus. That's the supplier that we typically use. I have a little link right here, but there's a lot of different companies that make these. So if you find another supplier that works, definitely go into Telegram, our social channels, and share your findings with everyone and with us so we can have an approved vendor list. One other thing we're not including, since once again, due to the international nature of this, we're not going to supply the plug that plugs into your wall, just the USB cable. So you just need to supply your own USB port. It'll work with any standard USB port rated for 500 milliamps. All right, redemption process. How is everyone going to receive their DTMs? So you'll be able to receive 1 DTM for each NFT that you own via Web3 redemption page on Lattice. So you'll go to Lattice. Once we open that page, that'll allow you to redeem your DTM, enter your shipping information, and your NFT will permanently be marked as redeemed. So you cannot redeem multiple DTMs per NFT, even if the NFT changes hands. I want to reiterate, do not lose access to your NFT. That is the way that you can earn rewards on Lattice and participate in future programs. So don't lose the keys. Treat it just as you would any crypto wallet that has a lot of value, because if you lose that, there's nothing we can do. And it really unlocks a lot of the really cool features that we're coming out with on Lattice, such as bounties. Setup process. So the DTM will show up and there's going to be a URL in the box. Go to that URL and follow the steps. It'll be that simple. It'll show you how to download the mobile companion app, which works on Android or OS. With that app, you can connect to the DTM via Bluetooth, load in the Wi-Fi credentials, upgrade your firmware, monitor the status remotely, and it supports multiple DTM devices. We'll also have a simple foot traffic data export tool built into that companion app. On the Lattice side, you'll be able to sync data to your companion app to confirm that your DTMs are set up and running properly. And that's where you can opt into bounties and monitor your rewards. Got a little sneak peek here of the companion app that we've been working on. Pretty simple design. I really like it. Design team's awesome. Shout out to Chad who put this together. This is the MVP you're seeing right here, and we have a whole bunch of new features planned to add into this over the next 12 to 18 months. All right, I know one everyone is looking forward to, talking about bounties and rewards. So we have 1 bounty that's running right now, and I want to announce 2 more bounties that'll be coming out. So the current bounty is the DTM baseline. So this is currently running. It is the bounty you get for connecting your NFT to your Lattice account. Currently, it's approximately a 4 million DAG per month pool. I say approximate because the pool will change with the validator rewards network. So there's a little bit of variation there. We're going to be releasing a new bounty. The first one coming out will be the DTM is online and in any doorway. So this is for if you receive your DTM, power it on, connect it to Wi-Fi, install it in any available doorway, and we'll have an additional 500,000 DAG per month pool for that. We're also going to be capping the earnings at 100 DAG per day, so that if someone gets their setup, as the first person, they don't soak up that entire pool right away. This will be ready when the first device is shipped. So by the time it arrives, you'll have an additional bounty you can opt into. The next bounty after that is going to be based on our Snowflake partnership. So that'll be our Snowflake retail installation. That's coming early next year. And that'll be to install your DTM device in any commercial retail location. This has the same bounty pool, 500,000 DAG per month. As I mentioned, that'll be coming out early next year. I also want to note that these rewards can and will change over time. So anytime there's a change to these rewards, either the ratios or new bounties are added, we'll be sure to announce that to everyone. And you can also earn from all of these at the same time. So if you get your DTM into a retail location early next year, you can earn from the baseline, the Any Doorway bounty, and the Snowflake bounty all at once. All right, And let's talk a little bit about the future here. So really, our goal is to get the DTM into every doorway to collect this high value data. We'll continually be releasing new features and tools to make it a reality, and we'll be continuing to broker deals to sell this data and drive enterprise revenue into the Constellation network. Everyone on the network is going to benefit from this. So in order, a few of the new things will be coming out. Quickly we'll release API access for the foot traffic data early next year. We're also going to release our retail analytics dashboard for the datapreneurs. So that's our traditional legacy retail data visualization product that we have at Dor. We'll release a version of that for the DTM owners that they can share with their retailers. That's also going to give you the opportunity to earn additional revenue streams if the retailers opt in to pay a fee for it. We've also got a lot of plans for the NFT. So as I mentioned, please hold on to those. We'll be releasing additional DTMs for each NFT next year. We're also working on the DTM state channel. That's going to have a new L0 token. And then even further future facing, a new version of the DTM, which will have onboard cellular. So you won't even need to have Wi-Fi, literally put in batteries, put it anywhere. It's going to start working. I'm hoping to see those by 2024. This last one is more of a milestone and not really a feature, but it's something that I call the flippening. And this is really a major milestone for the network. And that's where the enterprise revenue that we're driving from these DTMs exceeds the value of the data validator rewards pool. So it's very similar to other networks like Bitcoin or Ethereum, where you're driving the enterprise value from transaction fees, right? But in our case, it's going to be through enterprise deals and companies paying for this data. I would love to see this flippening happen in the next 5 years. And that's really our long-term goal for this whole system. And when it hits that, that's when we have a sustainable data system here. So with that, that's everything you needed to know about the DTM. Looks like I did it pretty quick, a little less. I was shooting for 30 minutes, had 9 minutes left over, but I see 100+ questions in the Q&A. So maybe we'll fill a little bit there.
Hi there. Okay, I've been going through the questions. So 132 of them are,
Yeah.
put it this way, one is boobies. So they're just like, whatever. But we did get some good questions in here. Okie doke, ready. All right, the first one is, can Dor be used to count the exact foot traffic in parks? I know currently the only method I've heard of is a trash can method for parks. They do rough estimates depending on how much trash each park has. And he said, let me be more specific. Would that be possible? Would it be possible to count the people as they drive in through various park entrances? I'm assuming walk in, but yeah, that's what he wants to know. Park entrances.
Yep. Yeah, so this version of the sensor is not designed to work outdoors. It might work for a little bit, but it's not designed to handle the elements. That being said also, and this is another piece of documentation we'll have to send, is doorway compatibility. It only counts when a human walks through a doorway. So it needs to be like a standard size door. That being said, we actually do work with a few national parks. We're in the visitor centers. So that is one way to work with parks. Another great way, and we've done this before as well, is in the bathrooms to monitor when they need to be cleaned. So both of those can actually be proxies for visitation.
Good. Okay. And then this question is about the hardware device. And a couple of people, looked at the diagram, and one guy wanted to know what's the piezo, P-I-E-Z-O, piezoelectric. What does that mean?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So piezoelectric, I mean, it's just a buzzer. It's a type of buzzer technology. So it can make little sounds and play songs. You'll experience it when you get the device. It'll beep when you power it up. Also for customer support in the future, if we need to have different features like identify it or things like that. So basically just audio feedback that can come from the device.
Okay, so this one's a little longer, but this person has a question about when approaching store owners. So I think he wants to know if they will be shown to have consent from us, that they're just not some fly-by-night dude coming in with a device that they want to track. foot traffic with. So it's kind of like, would it be reasonable to class ourselves as affiliates, or another term, especially with the idea of having it written on my web page? You know, if somebody wanted to create a web page about this and actually make it into a little side business or something, is there maybe some way of showing that they're certified or something like that from us, and they have permission from the company, from Constellation?
Got it. Yep. That's a good point. Some sort of certification process. I mean, that's a great idea to have in the future. At the end of the day, they already have permission to put these anywhere, but I understand they want, you know, the end retailer to understand that they're not a random person. I think a big part of that will be for the datapreneur to come up with, you know, what are their terms of service for the end retailers, and coming up with their documentation. And they can always use the docs that we have kind of as an example. So they can either go to getdor.com, take a look at the docs that we have there, or even the DTM, you know, privacy policy. But in the future, we could definitely work on some way to confirm that, you know, they are a true DTM holder and that they can provide this data to the end clients.
Cool. And that website was getdor.com, GETDOR.com. Okay, next question is, how long does a battery last before it needs to be changed?
Oh, yes. They probably asked it before that slide, but standard alkaline batteries will last, last 3 to 6 months. And the more foot traffic there is, the less the battery lasts, right? Because it has to run the sensor more. And then those super cool lithium thionyl chloride batteries will last 1 to 2 years.
Okay. And you kind of covered this with the park thing too. Can the DTM be protected with an enclosure of some material if placed in a public space, or will it prevent the sensor from reading accurately?
That's actually a good question. You can protect the outside of it, but you actually can't cover the sensor face right here because it is thermal. And I know there are certain materials that will let thermal light through. That's not tested. So I'm not sure if those will work. Someone could try that, but it'll definitely at least degrade the accuracy depending on what the doorway looks like. But long story short, it's not a use case that we've tested, but there does exist materials that theoretically would work.
Okay, next question. How does the DTM calculate 1 human if 2 humans walk through a door really closely together? And it sends separate, you know, the 2 separate people.
Yep. Yeah, it actually can see multiple people at the same time. So even 2 people would be kind of like a longer blob. The way it works is we actually created a data set, and we did this previously over the course of like 3 years. We actually had a little camera battery pack that would take video footage along with thermal footage. And we would have people label images and use that to train a neural net, which runs on the device. By the end of the training and after all of that data, we actually found the algorithm is more effective at tracking people than humans are if they look at it. So that's how we're able to get such high accuracy. But it can track unlimited number of people based on the pixels. We've found that usually 4 or 5 at the same time is the most it can track. Also, if people like kind of queue and wait there, you know, that'll create issues for it as well. So as long as someone's walking through, it'll track it as a visitor.
Good. Will we get new units sent out after 2 months, replacing the beta units? I don't think there's not really beta units, right? Anyway, go ahead. That's what he asked.
Oh yeah. Well, no, the units are in beta, but it's going to be the same hardware coming out later. So maybe what I should have said is the system is in beta, right? So the hardware is good, but the system will be in beta. So, you know, making sure there's no firmware bugs, making sure the server side is working, the app's working, all of that stuff. So all of the later units will be the same hardware. But of course, if your hardware is broken, we will replace that hardware for you. And our customer support team already has ways to do that.
Okay, next is about the hardware diagrams again. I saw RAK, R-A-K, on the prototype. Is this the same company that produces the helium hotspot? Is RAK building all of these and can get us around the universe like the hotspot?
Yes, so we're still building the devices ourselves. So we actually have our own factory building these over in Texas, but we do use the Rack LoRaWAN module, which is the company that makes the helium hotspots. So we're a happy customer of theirs, but we just use their LoRa module on the device.
There's this isn't really, I mean, this is one about the DoD. When will the DoD use these hardware sensors on the battlefield?
We actually do have with Dor, yeah, we have some deals with the military. Can't announce them yet. But yeah, there's totally cross-pollination there. That's going to happen.
Okay, let's see. For bounties, is it possible to share the rewards between two people who form a partnership on the placement of units, or do the rewards have to go to a single wallet?
That's another cool one. So actually, for the MVP and initially, rewards will be going to a single wallet, so the datapreneur can split it up themselves. But that is something that's on our roadmap, to have the ability to split rewards to multiple people. So you could have someone who's maybe managing the deployment remotely on the street and someone else who owns the NFT who's kind of managing the entire fleet. So on our roadmap, but for the MVP, it'll all have to go to one wallet.
Does the Dor software come with a standard plan before upgrading so that the retail store can start using the software straight away fee-free? Or is there a subscription from the start?
Details for that will come when we release that early next year. But we do have a plan to kind of let the store try before they buy.
Okay. This question's about the NFT. Are NFTs going to be capped at $5,500? Now, this brings me to another question I had seen in one of the one of the groups. They'd asked what if someone sold their NFT to someone else? How can it be transferred? Does that mean the hardware device would need to be shipped to that person?
Yep. So if the NFT, you can definitely sell your NFT and transfer it between people. And that's already happened a few times, actually. So if it's before redemption, whoever owns the NFT at redemption will enter their shipping address. If they decide to sell the NFT after redemption, then that new NFT holder owns the hardware, and they need to, kind of work on the logistics there. There could be a case where the seller ships that person the hardware, or it could be a case where the hardware is in a great deployment and the new owner wants to keep it there. So it is possible, and we'll work on like a better way to kind of transfer ownership of hardware itself. So I would recommend against transferring it unless you really trust that person, and make sure that the NFT and the hardware can move together. As far as that question, I think they're talking about capping the total number of NFTs at 5,500.
Right. Gotcha.
So yes, the total number of like this version of NFT, it's actually capped at 5,000.
Right. Okay. Some more that have come in. When you said add additional DTMs for each NFT, does that mean that with one NFT, I could get 2 DTMs?
Yes. Yeah. Coming soon.
Okay, what happens if the device gets stolen from a location? Is Dor Constellation looking into insurance policies that we could add to the product?
Yes, yeah, insurance and warranties, that does happen. Well, actually, so I mean, in our experience, no one's ever stolen a sensor, but they can get damaged or misplaced or swept away in a storm, which unfortunately has happened recently. So in those cases, just work directly with our customer support team and we'll figure out the best solution for you. The good news is, without the NFT, no one can ever earn rewards from these DTMs, right? So they don't have an incentive to steal them. You have to own the NFT to earn any rewards.
Okay, so the next question, when these do move to use the cellular networks, who's responsible for the costs of using the cellular data in 2024?
Yep. Well, it's pretty far out. There's going to be a few different ways to eat the cost of cellular. So I don't have an answer for that right now, but cellular costs are pretty low. So right now we spend about $3 a month on cellular. It's probably going to be even cheaper by 2024 when we move to different networks.
Then a rewards question. As the base rewards are tied to the number of DTMs sold, will there be a maximum number of DTMs sold? Is there a max number of years the DTMs will receive rewards?
There's not a maximum number of DTMs or a max number of years. So the answer for those is no, there is a max number of NFTs. So there will be a cap on certain bounties, especially regarding the first batch of 5,000 NFTs that we mint. But the reward structure is going to be, it's going to be expanding and really expanding as we start to get more enterprise clients, right? So I would love to see, someone come in and say, I'm really looking for data for this specific country or this specific zip code. Well, we might open up a bounty based on that revenue just for those and open up sales of DTMs to those regions, right? So the bounties and the number of hardware are also going to be in conjunction.
Cool. In an attempt to represent Constellation and the DTMs as professionally as we can, is it possible to get access to stock photos of the DTM as found on Dor and Constellation's website to use on their own sites? Maybe we can provide a kit or something for people to use to market this.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Yes, we should definitely do that. We'll have at least like a simple asset kit when we release the retail software next year that can be shared. Along with that software, we'll release like a whole marketing package. So case studies, decks, sales materials. As a first step, yeah, I think that's a great point. We should make sure we have that with the documentation.
Super. Does Snowflake recognize retailers outside of the US, for example, the UK?
Yes. Yeah. So if you've seen our listing on Snowflake, it only shows the US right now, but we actually can do any country on that. It's worldwide. So I would really love to get other countries so that we can show a UK listing and all the different things. So you actually see as the datapreneurs are deploying their sensors, you'll see that Snowflake listing expand as we get more data.
All right. What was the reason for putting a cap per day on the first DTMs if the pool is 500K per month? Hypothetically speaking, where will the extra 400K DAG per month go when all 313 of the first devices are set up?
Yep. So the reason for that, the monthly pool will be a cap. So that'll be the max amount that we distribute per month for that bounty. We also added the cap to the devices just to keep the system pretty fair. There's still a huge incentive to be the first to get your deployment up and running. But we just wanted to avoid like a single person getting, a massive amount of rewards just for being the first to plug in their USB port. So really it's just limiting to make sure that the rewards distribution stays fair.
Okay. Can the DTM distinguish traffic into the store versus traffic out of the store?
That's another very interesting question about how the DTM works. So for the MVP, we'll just be showing the number of visitors, which is people into the store. As we expand the datapreneur to have access to our raw data, we'll also share with you the ins and outs. So the way the sensor works is it can determine when someone walks in and walks out, but it'll actually be more accurate in a certain direction. And so now really diving in here, when you're talking about a retailer, the weather conditions will actually have an impact on whether, since it's thermal, on whether it's more accurate to count in or out. So our algorithm can dynamically look at the local weather in the area, give you the most accurate direction to calculate visitors. So the datapreneur can either opt to use that visitor count, that's the most accurate, where we're doing all that math in the background, or for power users, we can give them the option to look at ins and outs, which works really good if it's an indoor environment.
Cool.
I have documentation on how all that works, so I'll be sure to put that on the doc side as well, because it gets a little bit complicated.
So here's another marketing support question, I think. Will there be any type of pitch deck or guidance deck? That's a good idea too, that DTM owners will be able to leverage to help explain the utility of the Dor Miner and how prior miners have provided profitability and enhanced business metrics with examples.
Yep. Yeah, we have plans to release as much documentation as possible. This is definitely one of them that's on the list too. As I mentioned for this MVP, right, we really just have the tools for you to administer the data. You will have data access, so you could export it and send it to someone. Initially it could be as simple as a rev share with the business owner. Next year, when we release the retail dashboard, I think that's where it gets really interesting, where you can sell the retailer on them using the data and allowing you to collect it for resale.
Great. Okay, will there be any guidance regarding leases, approaching stores, or verification from Snowflake, et cetera, to establish credibility and device protection, i.e. from theft? Also, can it filter out kids from adults?
Cannot filter out kids from adults, but like babies and like, it's based on thermal sources. So small pets, babies will not get counted as people. But we can't identify, any kind of demographics regarding the visitors. For the first question, yes, so that'll actually be up to the datapreneur to look at their own local laws and regulations, right? It's going to be different in different countries, in different cities, wherever you are. So it's really up to you to make sure that you're following all the local guidelines. But that's also why the Snowflake bounty is a separate bounty that you opt into, right? So if you find a retailer that says, hey, you can use my data for this, but I don't want my data listed on Snowflake, then they can you can just opt out and not collect on that bounty. And maybe in exchange, they'll be paying for the retail analytics themselves. So it'll really be up to your local jurisdiction.
And then there's a super important question. What about conjoined twins? Is that one or two people? Just kidding. That was
a question. 2 people, because it's 2 opportunities to sell.
That's right.
Yep. Definitely 2 people.
If I keep an Apple AirTag on the DTM, will it affect the working of the DTM?
Let me see. It will not. So you can definitely do that. Although I think it's going to alert all the store associates that there's an AirTag following them around with that new Apple feature. So I would just be careful about that. But yeah, I mean, that's a great idea to prevent theft. So I kind of like that idea.
And no pet tracking?
No pet tracking. We get asked that a lot. Okay, to be honest, we haven't tested it. I'm guessing a large dog might be seen as a person, but it should not work with pets.
Okay. All right, we had another question about entering and exiting, which you answered. Okay, and then the limit of 5,500 NFTs minted. Okay.
Oh yeah, so that one, it's actually a limit of 5,000 NFTs minted. 5,000. I probably got that. We had a typo on the website that showed 5,500. I think we've corrected it now, so it's 5,000.
I also want to know, would there be a generation 2 or 3 of this, or is it 5,000 and that's it?
5,000 of this generation, yeah, but there will be other things coming out in the future, especially with millions of doorways. We're going to need to fill all those up. But for this batch and the features of this NFT, 5,000 is the limit.
You mentioned the DTM being HIPAA compliant. Is there documentation we can provide to healthcare facilities to showcase this prior to placement of the device?
Yes, we do have a HIPAA compliance document that you can share. Yeah, we'll have, just to reiterate too, we'll have a whole kind of documentation hub on the Get Dor website where we'll have a lot of this documentation. And of course, if you think we're missing something, once we have the support channel set up, please feel free to do feature requests, documentation requests, anything through our customer support channel.
How will Constellation verify that the DTM is truly installed at the location that Datapreneur says it is?
That is a good question. So for that initial bounty, really the goal there is to get people to, well, so for the first one, any doorway, the goal is for them just to get it set up, running, learn how the installation works for their own benefit, for us to collect data. It's going to be on the honor system for that one. But as we do a more advanced bounty and improve the companion app, we're going to have a whole set of features to make sure that deployments are actually what we think they are. Everything from knowing the GPS coordinates, where it's installed, from getting pictures from the datapreneur of the installation itself, setting up the addresses in the app. So we're going to have a whole bunch of checks and balances, including reputations of the datapreneur themselves. So there's never a way to 100% do it, but we're going to have a whole bunch of different ways to audit. Then at the end of the day, if the retailer ends up using the data, the retailer is going to be on you to make sure the sensor's there too.
We use proof of reputable observation. Just kidding. All right. Will there be support, like templates to create basic contracts that we can tailor with our customers?
That is something that we might have in the future, but we won't have that for the MVP. Once again, it's really tricky, right? Because even right now, I don't know which countries we're shipping these to. So it really has to do with local jurisdictions. But as we get more people coming in and we see where things are, we can definitely beneficial for us to supply, documentation and at least templates and samples.
As devices improve to V2, what's the upgrade path for the devices?
Good question. We will have an upgrade path. The details, short answer, the details aren't figured out for that yet. Just to reiterate though, right, the hardware is not going to change majorly. In the next 2 years, there's going to be a new version, which is cellular, which would have to be purchased because it's a new piece of hardware. The majority of the upgrades will be happening on the software side. So everyone always has access to the newest software updates, newest firmware updates, and everything. So you will always be allowed to upgrade. We're never going to charge for a software upgrade. That's really where you're going to see a lot of the changes is on the app and on the firmware.
How does the DTM differentiate between retail data versus home data?
So the MVP of our companion app doesn't have that yet. It just shows your devices, but there's going to be a whole new system that we release next year as part of that app where you can set up deployments. So you'll actually set up what kind of deployment it is. Is it at home or is it a retailer? Things like address information and that kind of stuff. So we'll have a way for you to enter that information into the system.
When will batch 2 and subsequent batches ship?
That is TBD. So that'll come later. Expect that early next year.
And then will there be some documents, guides about how to best approach a store to place the DTM? Somewhere. Guidance, marketing, sales guidance.
Yes, we're going to provide the best guidance we can. As I said, a lot of it's going to be once these are out in the wild, talking to other datapreneurs and seeing it's different for everyone, right? And that's why we kind of really left it in the DTM owner's hands to figure it out. I've talked to some folks whose family owns a store, right? So the guidance is, say, I'm going to put it up and everyone's okay with it. So, we're going to monitor really closely the best ways and tactics that people are finding, and we'll aggregate that data for everyone and share it and really connect everyone as a community, be active on Discord and Telegram and share notes. All the information, we're also going to create a repository of it.
Will we be able to provide our customers with access to reporting via a mobile app that they can access anytime?
For the MVP, you will not be able to, so only you'll have access to the companion app. It will allow you to export data, so you'll have a CSV or Excel file and you could share that, or you could modify that and create your own dashboard to share with them. That's also why we want to release the API. So that's really kind of phase 1 is the API will be released. You can share that API with your customer or build something for your customer. And then shortly after that, when we do have the retail analytics dashboard, that'll be the kind of easiest thing to share with them. So for the MVP, it's just about getting the sensors up and running, making sure they're deployed, everyone understanding how they work. And then early next year is when we're going to have that, all those tools for the retailers themselves.
Does the DTM work over sliding automatic doors that most retailers have?
Yes, It works great over those doors for both single and double sliding doors.
Are restaurants to be considered retail stores for Snowflake? Do they count in the bounty?
Ooh, good question. Yes, those count as retail stores.
Is there any more info about the additional devices per NFT?
No additional info at this time. We'll release that probably early next year. We'll release additional information regarding that.
Okay, and I think you just answered this one. For part 2 of the upgrade path, is this cellular able to be upgraded on the same circuit board, or will a whole brand new device be needed?
A whole brand new device will be needed.
Okay, that's the last one. That's a lot of questions. Oh wait, no, I'm
nice.
sorry. I'm sorry. A couple more popped in. Let's see. Any bounties of X amount of, any bounties for a certain number of people?
I think that's another good question. Is I don't anticipate any bounties based on volume of foot traffic. Because what we've found, right, is the fact that you have foot traffic is what's valuable. So even a store having 0 foot traffic is actually valuable data, right? You're saying that no one's walking into that store. So it's pretty much always valuable for the location, but the volume is not something that I foresee a bounty being created for.
Then we've got sliding doors already have sensors in the center of the doorway. How would we install the door sensor as it can't be centered?
Yes, you can actually mount it just off center to the side of those sensors and it'll work perfectly. We run into that quite a bit. And also, if someone's not sure, please take a picture of the doorway, email it to our customer support channel, and we'll have our team look at it and they'll tell you, annotate the best place to mount it for you.
What about healthcare locations for Snowflake? Are they considered retail?
Those are, yes. So for Snowflake, really, we're looking for anywhere that's commercial. Yeah. Yeah, and if you do have a question, because I can see healthcare is kind of the edge, right? Is it commercial, retail, or non? Once again, feel free to contact us and we'll confirm it. But yes, healthcare locations would count.
If you own an NFT, will an additional device cost less than the current MSRP?
Yes. Yeah, pricing we don't have finalized yet, but it'll be less than the current MSRP.
All right. So far, we've gone through them all.
Oh, look at that.
Shall we wrap this? That was awesome.
Almost
Michael.
used up the whole hour.
Yeah, people had a lot of questions.
Yeah, that was great. Well, thanks, Andrea, for reading off all those and filtering through the what I read is some really lively comments. So Michael, great response. Love it. You're the person to build this. So it's been awesome seeing you guys manage a whole hardware team over there. Thank you, everybody. That was Hypergraph 45. Tomorrow I will be doing a fireside chat to kind of talk through some of the operational questions of Constellation Network and our ecosystem. And I'm actually really looking forward to this. So it seems like the community had some other questions that are more around the operations of Constellation. So happy to kind of dive into a lot of those questions and talk with everybody kind of on a one-on-one basis. That'll happen in Twitter Spaces at 12 Pacific Standard Time. So I'll see everybody there tomorrow or talk to everybody there. Thank you, guys. This was great. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.